Hello, and welcome to the Briarcliff Congregational Church, and welcome to Windows of the Soul. This is our weekly program through the summer, in which you get an opportunity to explore in detail some of the beautiful stained glass windows at the Briarcliff Congregational Church. My name is Todd Farnsworth. I'm the minister at the church, and with me today and every day with Windows of the Soul is Karen Sharman, the author of the Glory in Glass. And so we welcome Karen. Welcome. Good to have you here today.
Thanks, Todd.
Good to have you aboard. And I was wondering if you just maybe had a few opening comments for us.
Sure. Let me start. Well, the Briarcliff Congregational Church is endowed with many wonderful assets, including a priceless collection of treasures of stained glass windows. And these were installed between 1898 and the 2000s, so quite a long history of windows. The windows represent sort of a panorama of art and stained glass technique. And through their depictions and dedications, they also tell the stories, biblical and secular. They're a wonderful reflection of our history, life, and tradition of the church, as well as of the Briarcliff community. The church itself was built in 1896, sort of a simple English parish-style church with a Norman tower. And over its 100-plus year history, numerous memorials in stained glass were given. These are beautiful, they're serene, they're powerful, they can be inspirational. They replaced the original clear glass that was in the church windows and really transformed the sanctuary into, I like to think of, glorious streams of color, living light. Really, really wonderful things.
Oh, it is. It's gorgeous.
And Walter Law, who was the church's founder and benefactor, also founded Briarcliff Manor, sort of initiated this tradition of giving memorials to honor his family or his friends or neighbors, and was a major donor of many of the original stained glass windows. We have a number of really important studios and decorative arts companies represented. So there's 17 stained glass windows in all. There's the J&R Lamb Studios from New York, William Willett Studios based in Philadelphia, one by an English firm, John Hardman, very important arts and crafts designer. There are 4 by Vivienne Gardner of Woodhaven Studios in Bermuda, so we're pretty international here.
I guess we are.
2 whose makers are unfortunately unknown, but they're beautiful nonetheless. And 7 from Tiffany Studios. And 5 of those Tiffany's are signed, which is an unusually high number. Usually people knew the Tiffany's were Tiffany's, they didn't need to have them signed.
Yeah.
The windows display a wonderful variety of subject matter, religious, historical, symbolic, landscape, and each one is kind of a different and fine example of stained glass technique and types of glass. We have a lot of different types of glass as well.
I think we have a lot to learn here.
Yeah, it's great. And the history of the windows in the church parallels to some extent the rise and fall and rise again of the popularity of the stained glass medium. So the late 19th and early 20th centuries were probably the glory years for stained glass and what we know as the American stained glass movement. 11 of the church's windows were actually installed during that period, including the original glass in the rose window.
Climbed up in behind the organ pipes at the church, and let me tell you, I'm terrified of heights, but for you and these windows, I'm willing to get this shot for you. What can you tell us about the rose window? I'm seeing a lot of angels and what looks like a peace dove of some kind in the middle, and it's just gorgeous. What can you tell us about this window?
Well, first of all, thank you for being so brave. Yes, the rose window, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous window. And it wasn't always thus. It wasn't always that beautiful and colorful. First of all, the rose window is probably the most familiar and famous of stained glass forms, as you can see. And you think of outstanding rose windows in Notre Dame de Paris or National Cathedral all over Europe and the United States. We think that the original glass in this window was put in 1906 because the transepts and the chancel were added to the church in 1905. The
okay.
magnificent west transept window and another window, which we'll talk about another day, were added in 1906. And I believe that this window was also added in 1906 because the glass that was removed when we discovered the window was sort of this opalescent yellow, amber, violet glass, very typical of a Tiffany opalescent glass. But the window was hidden from view since 1924 because
when did it get discovered?
Well, it was rediscovered in 1981. We installed a new, quote-unquote, new organ in 1924. Walter Law gave the organ in memory of his wife, and it was a huge pipe organ, but this window, if you can imagine, was by a rank of false pipes. So no one knew it was even there until 1981, during the renovation of the organ. So at that point, a member of our congregation,
so that's like 60 years.
But exactly, no one even knew it was there. It wasn't very beautiful, and Bill Olson decided he would donate a window in memory of his wife, Marilyn Holmes Olson, who was an amazing church member, longtime church member, church secretary, an indefatigable volunteer, and who stayed for numerous organizations. Decided let's do something with this window. And the art, we contacted an artist called Vivienne Gardner of Woodhaven Studios in Bermuda. And funnily enough, she was a childhood friend of Marie Higgins, who was the wife of the then minister George Higgins. So it was all very wonderful. And she was a marvelous stained glass designer and fabricator. And after submitting the selected design, she visited the church from Bermuda, climbed up on the roof, Todd, on the roof.
Well, I've been up there too, to lights outside.
Anyway, she climbed on the roof to make the templates of the window, and then made them in her Bermuda studio and transported the individually finished sections. You can see there are 12 sections plus the center back to the church and placed them in the window. So you can see in the center circle. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yep, the center circle.
Yeah, the center circle depicts the dove as the dove sent forth by Noah in search of new life after the flood. But you notice the absence of a freshly plucked olive leaf. And that symbolizes our continuing search for peace today. So it's very symbolic.
Very timely, and yes.
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
For sure.
And Miss Gardner was really taken by the window, particularly the fact that it was a rose window. It's a very special challenge. The circle is so powerful that it influences, as she said, the basics of the design and demanding sort of this radiating pattern of forming rings as it goes out. So she was careful with her glass not to compete with the circle of the rose window.
Yes, you can see how the radiating light coming off of the dove comes down into the next section.
Right.
In the corresponding sections where what looks like little angels are.
So yeah, she chose sort of this burst of radiating light over a blue background to complement the circle and its 12 divisions. And then in each of the keyhole shapes, there's the flurry of angels. You can see they're multiracial. It's not one set, so it's really wonderful that was put into the church.
Yes, I like that.
And then they form this sort of concentric rings of color around the dove. What's really, for me, was spectacular about this window is that even on the dreariest of days, I mean, it's a beautiful day today, obviously, but even on the dreariest of days, the rose window floods the chancel with light, and really the hues reflect on the dark wood tracery. So and most people who come to church are facing this window the entire time when they're sitting in the sanctuary.
Right.
So it's quite an inspiring and uplifting window, both in terms of the color and in terms of the message that it represents.
It really is. And I was made aware of this window. I mean, obviously I saw it when I first came to visit the church before I became the minister here. And I was struck, I think one of our first evening services in December after I arrived here, it was early December, we had an evening service, and I was looking for the switch to turn on the light behind the rose window because I thought, boy, at night that must really be beautiful. And I was astounded that there was no switch.
There was no light, right?
There was no light at that time. But I was able to find a couple people to work with me, and we kind of cobbled a little spotlight up behind it with a remote control that now has been replaced with a nice structure by David Gasperick and David Dykstra put up on the roof. And now in the evening services, we're able to see this window beautifully lit, and it does just shine out on Christmas Eve when we're singing Silent Night and the candles are glowing, and that window starts to shine during that song. It's quite moving.
Yes, it's a beautiful window, and very, as I said, the shape and what's represented are all very symbolic and very moving.
Yeah, they really are. I like the different colors of the skins of the angels, the different hairstyles of the angels.
Right.
I'm trying to get as I can. I think I don't want to stand on any pipes up here because that would be bad for our organ. But you should be able to see.
Yeah, you get a sense of it from that's good.
Yeah. It's just gorgeous. Is there anything else you can tell us about this window, Karen? It's just
that's pretty much it. Yeah, that's pretty much the history and the technique.
Yeah, it's a beautiful centerpiece for us to focus on when we're able to come in and worship here, and or even if we're just in the building for prayer. It's a beautiful focal point to remind us of that piece that's still out of grasp, but we're still working towards and trying to bring it to fruition. Yeah. Well, thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Todd, for
sharing this window.
Life in Limb.
Yes. You're very welcome. And I think I'll go downstairs now. And we hope that you'll join us next week for Windows of the Soul when we gather again to look at another window at the Briarcliff Congregational Church. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you, Todd.